In just a minute, we're going to hear from Kurt Seidensticker, who is the founder of Vital Proteins. Kurt is going to share the story of Vital Proteins' digital-first approach, which is something that they've successfully used to launch the company, build demand for collagen supplementation, and incubate new products, including their recently launched shots and beverages. And using this approach, they've built a rapidly growing and highly innovative company with revenue of more than $100 million. Today, Kurt is going to talk about some of the lessons that beverage companies can learn from their experiences, and we're going to take some Q&A at the end, so please send up some questions. So Kurt, take it away.
Thank you, John. Well, first I want to thank you guys for being here and listening to me. I'm going to kind of tell you guys a little bit about how Vital Proteins really started off as a direct-to-consumer business and how we built that platform and how we've amplified it to actually launch our beverage. Really, to give you a glance of who we are, if you don't know who we really defined the ingestible collagen market back in 2013. And we really spent the first 3 years building our direct-to-consumer relationship. One thing I had learned was we didn't go into distribution right away. We didn't go into retail right away. The key was actually to develop a relationship with our consumers so that they knew our brand and that when we went into retail, we could actually create velocity from day one. Part of that strategy was really investing in marketing in the early days. It was spending about 15% to 20% of our revenue dedicated to marketing, and that was from day one. Every day, every year, we invested that much in marketing. In 2018, we drove nearly $110 million in sales overall, with about 35% of that coming from direct-to-consumer. We're on track for next year for about $100 million in direct-to-consumer business. We're also the #1 brand in the space today, and really we've had 440% year-over-year growth from 17 to 18. Starting the company, we really started as a PALEO company, and this is where direct-to-consumer relationships really give you an insight as to who your brand is, right? I kind of tell my team, it's like, we can define the brand, but listen to the consumer. The consumer is really defining who you are. And what we did is we went out there, born as a PALEO brand, we aligned with key PALEO influencers, and then we let the direct-to-consumer sales really drive who the brand was. And we learned from this, right? We learned what the influencers were talking about, we learned about the consumers we were generating, and then we used that to develop a full digital program for our e-commerce strategy. The real basis of our company was based on influencer marketing. In 2014, I was out there probably doing 30, 40, 50 events a year. And what I recognized, people say, well, trade shows are dead. They're not dead because it's really about networking and developing real solid relationships. And early days, I think the very first person I met at the very first trade show I spent about 2 hours talking to Melissa Hartwig, who is the founder of Whole30. And I told her my story. I said, here's what I think collagen is. I think here's what the benefits are. And she listened, and she was out there advocating for the brand, unpaid, unsolicited, just getting that voice out there. So in 2014 and 15, it was all about networking and developing those authentic relationships. And what I recognized then was I wasn't going to hire a sales team. I was still about 2 or 3 people, and I wasn't going to hire a sales team. I was going to hire an influencer team. We call them influencer relationship managers, and those managers foster these relationships. So in 2016, I invested a little bit more into the company and decided to bring in about 16 folks that focused on digital, influencer relationships, social media. Still no sales team, still no retail sales at that point in time. What that did is that allowed us to scale the business and scale the brand. So we already had a brand that consumers were becoming aware of through these influencer relationships, so that by the end of 2016, Whole Foods approaches us and say, hey, we want to take you nationwide. 2017, we launch into Whole Foods. We instantly become a hit, one of the top brands in their whole body section. And it all came about growing this influencer team. One thing we did do, though, is when we create this brand awareness with this team of influencers, we've learned that it's not all about the big influencer, and it's not about the paid influencer. It's really about the relationships that you develop. And when you look at those micro-influencers, what we call micro-influencers are about those with like 5,000 followers on Instagram, maybe 2,000 followers. Those individuals have so much clout compared to someone who has 3, 4 million. You might get broader reach on someone with 3 or 4 million influencers or followers, but the smaller ones have an engagement level of 25%, 40%. They know who their followers are, their friends, and this word of mouth marketing really propels the whole strategy behind the e-commerce. One thing that we can do then is we do omni-channel marketing. We take these influencers and we do an off-site event. So we'll do an event like when we launched our collagen waters at Expo West. We threw an influencer event before the party. Those influencers are talking about it on social media, but they're also doing swipe-up campaigns on their Insta stories. And that then leads traffic directly to our website, but in that process, we're able to tag the consumer, tag the person visiting our website, and use retargeting strategies. I'm going to talk about some of our field marketing efforts as well, but this has been a great way for us to not only just have influencers, but really funnel it down into purchasing behavior. So when we launched this business for 2 or 3 years of direct-to-consumer, it's not all about the sale, it's really about the data. The data allows you to maximize the opportunity before you. And so over the 2 or 3 year period, we had gained a lot of data on who our consumer was. So in 2016, I said, let's find out who our consumer was. And we found out 80% of our consumers were women. You know, they were aged 25 to 49. They had great household incomes. And they were really buying the brand to stay healthy. They were looking for nutrition that was really better for them, and beauty effects. They wanted to combine wellness, they wanted to combine beauty, and they wanted to combine fitness. And kind of the joke is I started a paleo running company, but now I'm running a millennial beauty company, which I never expected to do. But having that direct-to-consumer data allows you to really understand who your consumer is. If you go straight into retail, straight into distribution, you're looking at the sales numbers, and you have to do focus groups to really kind of guess who your consumer is. Starting out directly with consumer, you have that direct relationship. And having this direct relationship, now that we knew who our consumer was, we could engage them in surveys. We could talk to them directly and say, how are you taking the product? Why are you taking it? What would you see as a good opportunity? And I think our customer base is probably over 1 million now. And having that amount of data to be able to ask people, why are they taking the product? When are they taking it? What are they using it with? And it really let us understand that they're taking it for beauty benefits, but they're also taking it for joint health, digestive health. And then we found out they're taking it in the morning. And so we use that data then to kind of drive innovation. So our next generation, we were just basically a hero SKU of the collagen that people were incorporating throughout their diet, throughout the day. But what we were doing is we were taking that data and we let it drive innovation. So we came up with a beauty collagen with benefits of biotin, vitamin C, hyaluronic acid, right? We found out that 52% of our consumers were taking collagen with their coffee in the morning. So we came up with a collagen creamer. That they were adverse to allergens, soy, dairy, gluten, right? So all of our product formulations were based on what the consumer we had today, what they were really focused on. Hundreds of questions of how do I use this product? Do I put it in cold water? Collagen's kind of a finicky protein, and consumers can add it to their cold water and it gets gooey and it's not what they expected. So we always had a challenge with telling consumers how to take it, and convenience was really important to them. So we ended up coming up with the collagen waters, where it's a very clean, easy to drink, great tasting. It's got the 10 grams of collagen in it that we recommend. The other part we're doing is we're doing a lot of field marketing. So we started the company out early, going out there and doing trade shows to foster relationships, right? don't think of field marketing as a separate branch. It's actually part of our top, I'll go into the funnel, but it's part of our top line funnel for customer generation on our direct to consumer. So we go out there, and every event we do, we give out free samples, but we also collect consumer data. So we're collecting consumer data, we're collecting their contact information. We can use that then to retarget them online. So if we're doing probably about 200 events, 750 events this year, but we're also doing about 4,000 or 5,000 demos a year at Whole Foods, and we're collecting all that data. And we're using that data to help shape the marketing campaign online. What's great about this, I was talking to Sebastian, they have this new thing where they can actually, you guys ever notice your iPhones, you're talking about something and you'll see an ad later on Instagram? We can capture those conversations and perhaps use that for quantifying those conversations. I always tend to ask, how did those go? What were the conversations about? And I get generic descriptions, but now we're going to be able to hopefully break that down into real actionable data. So the real key here is the funnel, which we call it, and it's really building awareness of not only collagen, of beauty, of fitness, of nutrition behind that. And once we've introduced them to collagen, we start driving their consideration, start thinking about the product, and then we invest more and more as this tier gets closer and closer, such that by the time we drive them to purchase, but then we follow up with a marketing campaign after purchase to really drive that brand loyalty. The other thing we've done on our e-commerce site is there's some jokes that we were talking about margins, right? Margins are important, especially in a beverage brand, and just really maintaining that. The great thing about direct-to-consumer, if you start that way, you get better margins, you get better profitability, and you can use that then to fuel your distribution to expand it. One thing we did as we were launching the beverage, we started looking at the cost of shipping a case of beverage. It becomes more expensive. We've always offered free shipping to our consumers from the day we started, and we started reconsidering that approach. And so what we did is, I took a page from Sephora where it was a $50 and above was free shipping. And with the website, you can do tests, you can do A/B studies, you can find out what's happening. And what we found was an uplift in sales, a more purchasing behavior, right? The other thing we started implementing was a subscription program, right? Subscription on a product that a consumer regularly consumes, it's making up about 45% of our sales today, and that's across Amazon and our website. That is huge when you think about strategic value. It's also huge for forecasting, and it also keeps your customer brand loyal. They love seeing the blue box when it arrives at their house on a regular basis. The other thing is the email. So we talked about top of the funnel when we were out there doing field marketing events, when we're collecting information from people. We're also following up with purchasing behavior. We're following up with an email campaign. We're out there integrating our field marketing with our website, and we're getting about a 65% lift, or 65% lift in our list, and about a 327% year-over-year monthly revenue increase. The other thing we started implementing is when you start getting into a single beverage, we have the shots, we have stick packs, we have all these different products. You want to drive trial, right? So we're doing these thousands of events out in the field, and we're getting people to try it. The great thing about the direct-to-consumer relationship is you can drive sampling and trial for almost no cost. So when a consumer actually buys a product, it'll cost us almost nothing to add a beverage in that box. It costs us almost nothing to add a shot into that box because the shipping is pretty flat, going from 2 pounds to 3 pounds. The cost of goods of the product don't have a significant impact on the overall purchasing behavior. So what we're seeing is incremental drive of people buying additional products. We've always been invested in an affiliate program. I think as the influencer market, we started real early on in the influencer market. As it became more mature, compensation was considered. Most of our influencers were authentic. We never paid them. If you guys know, we've done a lot with, or you hear people like Jennifer Aniston and Kourtney Kardashian and Olivia Culpo, and and others, and those are authentic relationships that we're not paying for. These are individuals that have been consumers of the brand. There are some influencers that want to get compensation, and so we offer this affiliate program, and we've scaled that up as well to actually help drive traffic to the website. From day one, the key was search engine optimization, because Google is probably king in driving traffic to your website. In order to maximize that, every content page we have is centered around the concept of collagen, the benefits of collagen. But we also created a blog called Lively, and it's a lifestyle blog. So Vital has really become this lifestyle brand, and we need a blog to actually support that. And then the other thing is just social media. Everyone knows social media, so our Instagram, it's grown to, probably about close to 500,000. But the key is developing those authentic relationships so that you have organic Instagram users talking about your brand. Amazon is also key. It's really hard to outperform Amazon on your direct-to-consumer channel, so Amazon is an outstanding platform for actually promoting your brand and selling your brand. My biggest recommendation, don't sell to people who sell your product on Amazon. Own it yourself. Develop the capabilities in-house to become a seller on Amazon. Let Amazon do the fulfillment, but do it yourself. And put efforts into preventing other people from doing that. We've done that through a MAP and reseller agreement that restricts it. But Amazon Media Group and Amazon Media Services have been instrumental in growing our Amazon business. Our Amazon business is probably 2x what it is on our website, but it's still our channel. We have that relationship with the consumer. And because we've invested with Amazon, they've opened up beta programs with us. And one of the coolest things I think about, and we're going to talk about this next, is personalization, right? We talk about upstream retargeting of knowing that person in the field. Now we can do it digitally. So imagine, I'm just going to paint a scenario. Imagine Amazon Kindle or Amazon Fire, right? They're streaming Thursday night NBA basketball game. We take one of our influencers, Zach Levin, who plays for the Bulls. We film a commercial. A consumer's watching this on Amazon Fire. He sees, we stream him this exact commercial during a commercial break. We know who he is on Amazon already because he's signed into his account. Our influencer is promoting our product. Now when he goes to Amazon, he's going to be retargeted with ads. When he's surfing the internet, he's going to be retargeted for ads. So we've integrated this whole omni-channel opportunity with Amazon as they grow their platform, and personalization really becomes key in this. And so the future is really almost a separate e-commerce site for every single person. And it's really when you visit vitalproteins.com, a consumer will have, as we get to know more and more, as we collect more and more data about that consumer, we're able to customize and provide them with insights into their recommendations or what they want to buy. And as I talked about this personalization, and I talked about these micro-influencers, it gets very, if you want to scale your influencer program, we're actually developing a proprietary platform that develops analytics on these micro-influencers. If we have someone who has 1,000 followers on Instagram, it's very difficult for me to have someone on staff manage 1,000 relationships and maintain that. So we basically have a community now where the influencers themselves can self-service and promote the brand and scale it beyond 2,000 or 3,000. It can scale it to 50,000 or 100,000 individuals. So part of this automation and personalization are what are really growing, Vital Proteins today. Thank you.
This guy here.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kurt.
Thanks, Sean.
We're getting a bunch of questions just from the audience about compensating influencers, and I guess from the looks of your slides and talk, it sort of implies that the only compensation is the affiliate program. Is that the case, or do you guys work with paid influencers as well? And I guess any advice on that front?
There are some paid influencers, right? So there's a ton of different ways to work with influencers. I think in the early days, right, the authentic relationship was what was truly valuable. Now you have this boom in influencers. I think every millennial that's their new company, their new career. They are looking for compensation, but what we try to do is say they really have to prove themselves first. So we'll send out free product to them, let them figure it out, see if they like it, see if it's brand aligned. And then we'll look at their engagement level, and we'll make a decision whether or not we want to develop a long-term partnership with them. I think some of our early influencers are still unpaid influencers. I think of this new generation is looking for some form of compensation, and so it's really a benefit analysis and looking at how many followers do they have, what's their engagement level, and not over-investing that. I think if you spend all your money on paying influencers, it becomes completely unauthentic. So we're very careful on looking at their feed and making sure that that feed is genuine and it's not just someone posing with a product. I think very rarely will you ever see anyone posing with a Vital Proteins product. It'll be a little bit more authentic.
Gotcha. And I guess on that front, the influencer part, it sounds like you're kind of gearing up to manage even more influencers. Where do you see that all going? I guess, as you pointed out, everyone kind of wants to be an influencer. I don't know, are there nano influencers yet, maybe?
Nano.
Is that something that is kind of getting to the point where there's maybe diminishing return?
I think there's diminishing return on the larger influencers. I think as those influencers grow to above 250,000, you have to be very selective. It becomes expensive, or they're not getting the results that you're looking for. I think these micro influencers or even nano influencers, like those 1,000 to 2,000 to 5,000 are critical, because they're not doing this as their business. It's their lifestyle, and they have those connections and friendships that are authentic. So,
okay. On the Amazon front, you also mentioned kind of controlling that yourself. What about using things like brokers and some of these services that will manage that for you? Not dealing with the inventory, but just kind of the entire workflow.
It's not that difficult, right? So you have to really look at how much you're going to spend on that management. I think if you're a startup company and you have some tech savvy, you can do it yourself. I think for us, it does take a couple people, 3 people, to manage at our scale. The brokers that can do it just make sure that they are focused on it every day, right? It's a defensive strategy of making sure no one else is buying your product somewhere else and selling it, making sure that you're not out of stock, making sure that your reviews are managed, right? It's basically like saying, I'm going to have someone go out there and create my brand. Amazon is your brand. You got to watch everything on there, and sometimes maybe a third party may not be able to love it as much as you would and really invest in it.
And I guess to take a slightly different tangent that we didn't talk about, what's been sort of the strategy utilizing digital as the company has pushed its products into brick and mortar?
Yeah, I tell my team, I kind of hold them off. When we come up with an innovation, we saw this at Expo West with our beverage. Everyone wanted it instantly, and I said, no, we have to prove it out on our website. We have to get that consumer learning early on. You have to know if the flavor profiles are right. You have to know if the price point is right. You have to know if consumers are really loving it. And so we have a really I put more brakes on things than gas to try to make sure that our strategy is followed. And then once we've proven it out on our website, then we go and release it to select retailers and then grow it from there.
Excellent. Well, I think we're about out of time, so thank you very much, Kurt.